Hello, good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, depending on where you are. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm Leda Letra, and I'm part of the ISA Communications Unit, and it is a pleasure to welcome you to this online briefing. Today is the last day of part one of the 31st session of the International Seabed Authority Council. And as we explained it in our previous communication with you, part one is a bit shorter, just 9 days instead of the usual 10 days, because this Friday is an official holiday at the IFA. So we really want to thank you for your patience and understanding regarding the extremely busy schedule of Madam Secretary General, not only today, but over the past weeks. We definitely value the dialogue with the media and the press, and we want to assure you that our doors, or should I say our email inboxes, remain open if you have any follow-up questions after the briefing. Without further delay, it's my honor to introduce you to the ISA Secretary General, Leticia Carvalho. Madam Secretary General, the floor is yours.
Now, properly, good afternoon, good day, depending on where you are. So thank you for joining me. We are bringing, as my colleague Leda just mentioned, we are bringing part one of the 31st session to a close today. And I would like to take this opportunity to update you on some of the achievements of the past 9 days of what I considered a very productive meeting and negotiations. I want to thank each one of you for your interest in the work of the ISA, and note that your coverage, particularly across regions, is crucial to raising broad awareness and better understanding about the ISA's mandate. As well as it's very important to inspire more engagement with such a critical engagement, or more engagement with such a critical topic, to upholding the principle of the common heritage of humankind. That's the principle that we are anchored by the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea. I realize deep sea governance is a highly complex topic, and even though that I don't always agree with how the nuance and context has been articulated in the media, I fully appreciate the power of being able to help shape the narrative through your interest. So it's a dialogue that's very close to my heart, and I hope it can be continued as we understand, and as I help to better understand what the affairs that we're discussing here in ISA and what the implications of the decisions taken here will have for the world and for your audience. Let me start by saying that I'm seeing great goodwill, a constructive approaches playing out in the room, facilitated by our excellent president that is running this meeting, High Commissioner Joshi Mayank from India. And it's been a pleasure being sitting by his side over these days, watching his firm leadership, conducting the meeting and the discussions into a very good pathway. So member states are joining hands in good faith. That what comes out to my eyes while I have the chance to observe, and a high level, very high level seriousness, responsibility, and what I believe I could translate as a common purpose. They are invested in progress and in ensuring a robust, future-proof, and credible regulatory process. The thematic approaches that were decided as the main methodology last session and are still playing a very important role in this session, provided for real focus and the substance, and I would say regarding to that, or maybe thanks to that, we are seeing much less polarization in the room. At least this is the way I see much less polarization than in previous sessions. Countries are stepping up across regions to facilitate intersessional working groups, which are yielding real results, I would say. And there's been so far significant acknowledgement of the also excellent work, previous work work which precedes the Council, that is conducted by the Legal and Technical Commission, a subsidiary organ of the authority that carries on great responsibilities in analyzing a number of aspects upon request of the Council, particularly technical and legal aspects, as the name of the Commission per se represents. Let me also add that the session is reflecting the collective efforts to move the negotiations forward. I know that many of you are eager to know when the regulatory framework will be approved, but I remind you that this is up to the member states to decide based on when agreements and milestones are achieved. I have recommended, in my capacity as Secretary General, an approach. I have actually asked and called upon an approach of principled pragmatism and focused ambition. And the Secretariat has been recognized for its strong support to states through the further revised consolidated text. That is actually the document that carries on the regulations, the draft regulations that are being negotiated here, or that have been negotiated here in Kingston in the last 2 weeks. And the identification of outstanding issues that are still requiring further attention. So I'm pleased about being entrusted by member states to organize these two important projects for their negotiations. And I believe that we have, through that, made a good contribution to the pace and perhaps expediting their work in the negotiations. There have been questions about what happens if ISA, or what happens to ISA if the mining code is not decided this year. So as a multilateralist for 25 years at least, this is for me a simple question. We will put our lives up, hands on deck. We keep working, taking stock, identifying gaps, mapping where the states agree and where they disagree, and continue to negotiate until consensus can be achieved. And this is sometimes a lengthy process, but it's a process that pays off because collective decisions are the basis of multilateralism. And of course, it's consensus who brings legitimacy. At the Secretariat level, we will absolutely continue to provide all requested support by the member states, as well as to innovate on how to improve processes. We see multilateralism under a great criticism, or at least pressure. And it's important that we can also build upon lessons learned from the past, and how can we modernize and transform spaces of negotiations and make it more effective and more conducive. And this is very much what the Secretariat of International Seabed Authority under my watch is trying to do. The Council has a clear responsibility. So the Council is the body that is composed by 36 member states. You probably have done research about this. Some of you I know are long-term in the following the affairs of the International Seabed Authority. And you know that the responsibility of the member states is to deliver, the member states and the Council particularly, is to deliver a framework that is robust, balanced, and implementable, one that gives full and practical effect to the principle of the common heritage of humankind. Therefore, I would say that during this session, my perspective is the Council has galvanized the identification of milestones, which will help to track progress as we move from this session to this part of the session in March to the next part of the session that will take place in July. So I continue to be very confident and trust that this year there will be great progress under this umbrella of negotiations of the mining code that will take the International Seabed Authority from the era of exploration to the era of exploitation of mineral resources in the deep sea. It is in this context that I will highlight a few areas where the work has advanced. And I would like particularly to put one topic that's very close to my my activities over also 25 years, particularly on marine environment, and particularly on the protection of the marine environment and its resources. And I would like to highlight in this regard the regional environmental management plans that there are now broad support for these plans being finalized before exploitation begins. And these are really important tools where a holistic and a wider and broader perspective of the environment where eventually mining activities will take place can be taken in full consideration. So the fact that for mining to commence this regional environmental management plans are to be developed in advance. It's for me one of the important environmental safeguards that has been resolved so far in this session. In relation to the establishment also of an inspection, compliance, and enforcement mechanism, I consider that this is one of the pillars of the regulatory work that the International Seabed Authority is entrusted to deliver. The fact that there is a very solid, matured, and meaningful progress made towards a compromise for its implementation it's an aspect, it's a milestone that I am celebrating as we go to the end of this meeting. On the broader ocean governance landscape, I also presented to the council. You probably saw this during the, or you're probably in your homework in preparing for the session. I also presented to the council my report on the BBNJ agreement, the Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction agreement that's currently under preparation in its third preparatory meeting that's going to take place next week in New York. And regarding to that, I would like to highlight key areas where coordination, actually I did it, apologies. I did this through my report to the council, highlighting key areas where coordination will be required, including environmental impact assessments and institutional engagements. Of course, areas beyond marine protected areas that definitely will need to be reconciled with areas that are already reserved for mining or reserved for environmental protection under the ISA regime. So as I submitted my report on how to cooperate, coordinate, how to better articulate the International Seabed Authority capabilities with the new agreement, Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction, the Council has appreciated the Secretariat's proactive work towards this topic. So with that, I would say that I hope to continue to provide updates about how we look forward to enhance coordination and cooperation between these two important relevant agreements under the umbrella of the law of the sea. Once again, I convened targeted dialogues with different stakeholders, namely contractors, sponsoring states, observers that are composed of different constituencies as NGOs, scientific institutions, academia, even associations of industry. And these meetings are, for me, a testament of my commitment to transparency and open dialogue, offering an opportunity to listen to diverse voices, really looking forward to better understand different perspectives and to ensure that our engagements, particularly within the chambers of the International Seabed Authority, remain open and inclusive. Our exchanges, or my exchanges with them, our exchanges actually allowed for direct engagement with contractors on issues such as legal certainty, regulatory timelines, and practical operability of the future framework, including how rules will function in practice. So I appreciate the engagements with contractors and getting to know more about the impacts of our regulatory framework in their business, in their perspectives or potential business and perspectives regarding this this activity, the mining activity in the deep sea. Also, these opportunities of engaging with groups of stakeholders have provided a space to particularly connect with the sponsoring states. As you know, they are critical entities in the regulatory regime of the International Seabed Authority. For each contract or enterprise or company to have a chance to apply for a contract of exploration, and in the future, a contract of exploitation, they have to count on a sponsor state that takes responsibility within the regime, including questions regarding the due diligence and oversight. So there is a great responsibility on the shoulders of the sponsoring states, and a great responsibility in providing compliance regarding the implementation of the full regime. I also had the pleasure to discuss with observers that brought forward scientific, technical, and policy perspectives. And one particular topic that resonates a lot for me during these engagements were actually the relevance and the importance of considering indigenous knowledge in these processes that is different from broader and wider stakeholders consultations. And of course, it's something that I hope it's going to evolve as the negotiations are moving forward. It's going to evolve in a more practical framework or regime to allow indigenous voices, coastal communities' voices to be more influential in the decision-making, not only in shaping the rules, but also in the application of the full regulatory regime. So together, these dialogues helped to ground the negotiations, or at least helped me as Secretary General to be able to bridge information with member states and hopefully to support them and ground the negotiations in practical realities and to clarify where further work is needed. So looking ahead, the work doesn't stop when the Council concludes its meetings. I think this is very important to be stressed to all of you. The intercessional period over the next months will be absolutely critical. You know that we have a second part of this session taking place in July, still this year. So during this 3 months, 4 months, separating one part of the session from the other, it will be a time to consolidate progress, deepen technical work, and continue bridging areas of divergence. So I put a lot of hopes in the intercessional work. As Secretariat, we have been made ourselves available to support member states. The intercessional work is carried out under the leadership of member states. So I'm really appreciative and commend the leadership of many member states that have been stepping up in coordinating thematic groups, and they are looking forward for compromises and language. So I believe that this is one of the powerhouses of the work and for the expedited work that we have been seeing playing out in the Council this time, and I believe and hope for the same in the next part of the session. So indeed, there is still work to be done after this session. It's definitely clear. The next part of the session, or of the 31st session, will take place in July 2026. So I would say my hopes, and therefore I can even use the word go, is to bring these negotiations to the point where adoption becomes achievable. Again, adoption of the mining code with the robust safeguards that it has to do becomes achievable. Again, whether that happens at this session or requires a further process is a matter for member states to decide. But the trajectory, in my view, is moving forward. The momentum is real, and the international community's expectations, to be more precise, that the ISA delivers is not something that I take lightly. At the other way around, I'm very serious about this and very committed to support my member states in moving forward. So I'm now available to respond to a few questions that have been submitted by you in advance of this briefing. And with that, I would like to hand over back to our moderator, Leda, my colleague, Leda. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary General, for your remarks. I also want to say that Madam Secretary General will deliver today her closing statement to the Council this afternoon, and we will be sharing this statement with you all as soon as it is online. As our time is short, we had to select the questions sent by some of you that are attending the briefing today. And as we explained it by email, some of the questions have been addressed before or were addressed just now by Madam Secretary General during her remarks. So we chose questions that we feel we didn't have the chance to address before. I will start now with the first question of this briefing. So the question is by Ms. Esme Stellert from BBC. With the new approach for discussions, do you have an updated timeline for agreement on different areas?
Thank you for the question. To be crystal clear, there is no timeline at this point agreed by the Council. But indeed, the thematic approach combined with a program of work structured around a list of outstanding issues derived from the recently issued consolidated text that's under discussion has enabled, as I told, much more focused exchanges and provided delegations with a clear understanding of overall state of progress of the regulatory framework. So many participants, and I have been in bilaterals, also collective discussions, as I told you, through the dialogues with different stakeholders, but also with a number of member states, with the president, of course, with the vice presidents, with the regional coordinators of geographical groups. So many participants have highlighted the significant progress achieved during part one of the session. Thanks to this pragmatic approach, there is also agreement that the intersessional work undertaken by working groups has yielded significant advancement. So these efforts will continue, I believe, even being streamlined by the president as we go to the end of the session this afternoon. And I believe in the upcoming months and ahead of part two of the Council in July, delegations have been proposing a number of methods and working in ways to have the work forward. So later today, they likely will agree upon certain steps and milestones for the next period. And I think this is the way, not through necessarily a timeline, but this is the way through milestones that we will be able to track the progress in the next period. Allowed me to say that I see that this meeting has really galvanized a very positive trajectory towards an expedite work or more agile work with important specifics mandates given to or tasks to be more precise as this is a process to be given to the Secretariat as, for example, hopefully this is going to play out into the end of our meeting today, updating the current consolidated text into a new revised version, and eventually updating the list of outstanding issues, being able to add what is perhaps not yet considered a topic that demands further discussion, but is identified in the session, so therefore should be addressed in the next one. And also being able to clear the list of topics that have been achieved more mature status at this point in time through this meeting. So I think with that, I stop here on this question. Back to you, Leda.
Thank you so much. So our second question was sent by Ms. Hannah Norday from E&E News by Political. What is the status of the ISA's investigation into whether or not TMC violated its contract?
So first on this, thank you for the question. It's a question that is massively addressed to the Secretariat. So I really would like to take this opportunity to clarify that while some members of the media have referred to this matter as an investigation, the correct term is a request for information. So at this point in time, there is no investigation towards any contract and contractor. It is an initial step which needs to follow sequential actions by other organs of the authority. I'm referring to the current I'm referring to what I'm saying is request for information. That's the process. So this process needs to follow up sequential actions by other organs of the authority in the context of their respective responsibilities and functions. And this includes a number of entities, particularly the Legal and Technical Commission, which is composed by nominated by member states experts, and they are the fundamental analysts, and the recommendations on how to manage contracts come essentially from this subsidiary board or subsidiary commission. All actions are framed within the processes and the procedures out in the convention, in the agreement, and in the rules and procedures of the authority. So I think it's important to highlight these aspects because there is no free investigation that ISA could conduct, but solely the elements of the regulatory framework that we have under UNCLOS and under the 1994 agreement. So essentially, the questions that have been conveyed by the LTC, the Legal and Technical Commission, through the Secretariat to contractors was actually to require additional information from contractors that may be at risk of non-compliance with their contractual obligations. So I also need to emphasize that this is not an individualized procedure. The Secretariat actually addresses all contractors that have been eventually identified at risk of non-compliance, and so far we have been received responses from all 21 contractors. So in this case, I would say seems there are good faith and goodwill in provide timely and accurate information. And of course, we convey this information to the Legal and Technical Commission. And if they feel that they are not satisfied, additional questions can be posed. So I think with that, I will stop here, but with the clear element that there is no investigation rather than a request for additional information to contractors and whether they could be at risk of non-compliance. And I hope this clarifies. Thank you, Leda, back to you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary General. Our next question is from Elizabeth Alberts from Longa Bay. What impact does the Secretary General believe finalizing the mining code could have on the United States plans to pursue deep sea mining outside of the ISA framework?
So thank you, Elizabeth. I think one point important to make a clear reference is while the United States is not a member state of the authority, it holds observer status, including through the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, who has attended our meetings, also the U.S. delegation under this flag as observer. I also noticed that U.S. has signed the convention, UNCLOS, the Convention of the Law of the Sea, but hasn't ratified. So therefore, their status in ISA is, as I'm saying, observers. But they are, of course, entitled, as any other observer, to participate in the dialogue, to make contributions in the technical discussions. So the door for engagement and dialogue with United States remains open. They have been part of this session as usual. So I think one reflection, on the other hand, is as far as the authority is concerned, it is important to recall that member states are bound to their obligations under UNCLOS, under the law of the sea. In a scenario where the regulations are adopted, further obligations will make the United States a less attractive option for companies. And this is my reflection as we move forward. ISA stands, or 172 states plus the European Union stand for ISA. And this collective structure is very solid. The overwhelming support for the International Seabed Authority has been restated over time, and considering particularly now. So I think any action outside of the chambers of ISA would be highly problematic for the ones looking to do so. As I have said before, member states have obligations under UNCLOS throughout the supply chain. This is an important aspect as well. It's not only the mining activity itself that is reached out by the regulatory framework that is under development, and then therefore by UNCLOS Part 11 and 1994 agreement, our legal basis. So engaging with actions to mine the deep sea that fall outside of ISA regime could open doors to actions deemed as breaches of the international law. I say again that this is a consequential moment, and more than ever, we need multilateralism, cooperation, and dialogue. So ocean governance today faces the risk of fragmentation. I think I have been very clear and repetitive about this, or insistent. Therefore, I am a believer that rules, regulations, and the completion of the mining code are the answers for all of our, for all the gaps that we might identify as an international community that could trigger a not sound or a non-sound exploitation activities in the deep sea. So in this regard, I stand for the rules and for my repetitive statements about this, not only for the rule of the law, multilateralism, for UNCLOS, and for what Part 11 and 1994 agreement state relate in relation to deep sea mining and activities in the deep sea bed, including, of course, the important other pillars that come together with the baseline principle of the common heritage of mankind that covers 54% of the Earth's surface. That's the area for which this organization stands for, but also for the protection of the environment that is part of this, and also for the benefit sharing and the promise of equity and sustainable development that brings with the well-managed use and sustainable use of the resources of the deep sea. So I think I'll leave it here regarding this question and bounce back to you, Leda.
Thank you so much. We're now approaching almost the end of this briefing, but before we have a last question, it's from Regina Lam. I know, Regina, you are with you now. Thank you for your question. Regina is from Dialogue Earth. If the parties of the BBNJ agreement decided to establish a high sea protected area and prevent deep sea mining from taking place in such space, do they need ISA members' consensus or cooperation to do so?
So at this stage, I will refrain to engage in analyzing hypothetical scenarios. There was a clear debate, long debate in the Council about the report that I have presented. It's clear that what was considered is premature to go into or try to materialize hypothetical scenarios into the debate at this point in time, particularly because not only ISA is still developing its mining code, but also, and particularly BBNJ has recently came into force, and it is still in what we call the preparatory phase, where a number of instruments, tools, obligations are to be still described. But what I can emphasize is that the Secretariat of the Authority will participate in the upcoming BBNJ Preparatory Commission session that's going to take place in New York next week, and will remain committed to ensure interoperability of these two regimes. And I think it's important to use this opportunity to clarify for both the ISA and the BBNJ agreement to succeed. They need to succeed now, and because ocean governance, as I told, is really under existential threat. And that requires consolidated ocean governance that will enable will enable us to sustainably manage areas beyond national jurisdiction in its entirety, water column, surface, and the deep seabed. The ISA has a clear and distinct mandate with respect to activities in the area, the deep seabed outside of national jurisdiction. It is part of our mandate to ensure effective protection of the marine environment from harmful effects that may arise from activities in the area. So I believe that this brings an absolutely sense of harmony and complementarity between these two agreements. And the authority's mandate must be anchored in science, legal clarity, and technical integrity, what also reflects or is reflected. Similar principles are reflected in the BBNJ agreement as well. So the need for cooperation, coordination, synergies to avoid duplication, all of this jargon that is very used in multilateralism has been clearly recognized by the Council, as the discussion about the report provided by me has taken a long, in-depth appreciation from member states, and a clear encouragement to the Secretariat as representative of the ISA to continue to engage with BBNJ proactively, and looking forward to align or to generate the harmony between the two agreements that are complementary in nature under the umbrella of the law of the sea. I also live here, Leda, and I think we are over time. So I would like to say a big thanks to all of you who attended this briefing, and looking forward to continue to be able to engage with you bilaterally or through this briefings after session. And I'll be always grateful for your work, resonating the work of the authority. Thank you very much. And thank you, Leda, for taking us here.
Thank you so very much, Madam Secretary General, for your time. I also wanted to thank all members of the media that are here attending this online briefing. We will also publish a press release with very detailed information on the work done by the ISA Council on the regulations, and we intend to have this press briefing ready by next week. We will, of course, be sending this press release by email to you as soon as it is online. And thank you very much. And as usual, you know that you can contact news@isa.org.jm or reach out to me or Lisa directly. Thank you and good afternoon.